This is an introduction to the current situation and problems of wild beaches, organized by Derbyshire Wildlife Trust. Organization member James invited Emily, a senior marine conservation officer of the Northwest Wildlife Organization, as a marine expert to discuss marine conservation issues with everyone.
We've got a couple of interesting species really at this nature reserve, and there's two in particular that I thought I'd give a mention to. So the first probably isn't as exciting as the next one, but it's a type of grass, and it's the only place in the whole of England that this type of grass grows, and it's called the southern horsetail, or informally the Wirral horsetail, and it's a species that you can't find anywhere but Wirral. And then the other one that is perhaps a bit more interesting to talk about is the natterjack toads. So I've got a picture for one for you there. Now, these are really sort of important creatures because they're protected in the UK. And at Wirral, basically what happened was they nearly went locally extinct a couple of decades ago. And it's sort of through the work that we've done and our volunteers at Cheshire Wildlife Trust and our Wirral Wildlife Group, it's their work that's made these natterjack toads come back. And originally, like their little habitats, their little homes, there wasn't very many of them, and then we created some more pools. And if you ever go down to Red Rocks and pay a visit, you'll see their little pools where they're breeding today, and they're making a little bit of a comeback. So it's a nice little success story that's going on there. And hopefully they will continue to recover as time goes on. So what other interesting creatures might you find around the Irish Sea, Emily?
The Irish Sea is home to a real wealth of wildlife. We have amazing animals and plants, from the tiniest little plankton, so microscopic plants and animals, to the world's second largest fish, the basking shark. Would you believe it's as long as a double-decker bus and just as heavy as well? So there are actually about 30 species of shark found in the Irish Sea, around about 12 whales and dolphins that are regularly found in the area that use kind of hotspots to feed on fish and things like that, and everything in between, from crabs to anemones and jellyfish that I've mentioned, and even things like the leatherback turtle. Did you know we have turtles in the Irish Sea? And not only turtles, but the world's largest turtle. They're around 2 meters long, so that's the same length as a tall man.
I thought we can't really talk about Marine Week without talking about some of the problems our oceans are facing. So, Emily, could you tell us a little bit more about this first photo?
Yeah, so the first photo that we've got here towards the left-hand side is a fishing net, and this is because a lot of our seas are actually overfished, and that means that we have caught too many fish to eat, and also damaged the habitats, the vulnerable seabed where all of these sensitive little creatures live because of our fishing activities. So one of the important things that you can do is to look out for sustainably sourced seafood when you go shopping, but also you could join our call to ask for highly protected marine areas. So we're asking the government to save particular areas of the sea from damage such as this. And we've got a petition online at the moment, so if you're over 18 you can get involved in that, and I believe James is going to send the links with all of that information after this webinar.
Yeah, so if you want to support our efforts, so the Wildlife Trust are trying to get these areas in the sea so we can protect them and protect all the marine life there, and you're over 18, what you can do is sign our petition there, and that will go to the government, and hopefully we'll get some lasting change for our seas. Now, onto that second picture there. That's not looking great, is it, Emily? I think it's a river.
No. So this is signifying pollution. So basically a kind of message that wherever you are in the world, in the UK, you're not that far from the ocean. And anything that you put down the toilet and the drains often ends up in our rivers and then ultimately down into the sea. So we recommend that you only flush the 3 Ps, which is pee, poo and paper, and try not to put any nasty chemicals down the drain, and think about how where you live is connected to the sea. There are also problems from things like farming and runoff from the land there, which hopefully we can help to target over time.
We can just try and cut out those harmful chemicals, can't we, around the house and in our gardens, perhaps. And then the last one, this is perhaps an issue that everyone's become more familiar with over the last sort of few years. So can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, so this might be a problem that most people are familiar with. So marine litter or plastic pollution. So this is what we often come across on the beach, which is actually just the tip of the iceberg. There's far more out there in the seas that we don't see. And this could have come from your home, so down the rivers, as we talked about. It could have come from people leaving things on the beach, so perhaps having a picnic and leaving all the rubbish behind, or it could have come out from sea itself. So there's a problem with fishing nets that get lost and then end up either in the sea or on the beaches. So we've got a few tips of things that you can do to try and help with this problem. So you can first of all stop sucking, so say no to things, single-use things like straws, because they never really fully break down and can end up being eaten by animals. Don't let go of balloons, because although it seems like you're letting this balloon off into the sky, it has to come down somewhere, and actually there's a real problem with balloons entangling animals like birds. So it's not that fun for the animals that get caught in them. Yes. And then we want you to think about reusable items as well. Particularly at the current time, perhaps think about using reusable face masks rather than the disposable ones, because we're already seeing those washing up on the beaches, but also things like your shopping bags, reusable water bottles and coffee cups and things like that.
Yeah, so you can go for things like that are biodegradable, and then just remember that always that sometimes the litter you put in the sea, it will go somewhere else, and it might not even affect the coast near you, it might affect it somewhere on the other side of the world. So we've all got to really work together on this one, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah.
And then I thought, obviously, because we talked about how sort of people over 18 can sign that petition, so I thought for our younger viewers, I might say a little bit about this, and we can talk about this, because young people really can make a difference, can't they? Because we've seen recently, we've had like the school strikes and the global climate strikes. And like my job at the Trust is I'm the campaigns officer, so I'm trying to get people to change the things that they do to try and help the environment. And we're seeing like lots of young people come really interested in the environment. And how important do you think that is, Emily?
I think it's really important that the young people kind of think about these things and also try and put pressure on the grown-ups to do something about it, because ultimately it's their future that we're having an impact on. The children will be the next generation that has to deal with the problems that we've created.
Yeah, because I think in a way it's really sort of important that we get young people asking lots of questions and making sure that they're aware of the issues and that they're talking about them, and they're making like us adults think about them a little bit more, because it's usually the adults that can make the big changes to like laws and things like that.
This Marine Conservation Conference ended with a James' expectation of public about what contribution they will make to marine environmental protection in the future.